Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Black Doctor Collective podcast. I am back in Brooklyn. If you watched last week's episode, I was in my hotel room in San Diego for the weekend. I did a little girls' getaway with my two friends from medical school, Ride or Dies, my day ones. Those are my girls. And we, three doctors on a trip, y'all, we didn't plan nothing. Okay, we showed up and we just hoped that things would fall into place. I think we Googled a couple things, but really, it was a very much play it by ear scenario. Now, if y'all have been here for some time, y'all know I'm a super planner, and I don't be getting down with the spontaneity. I like to know when I come home from a trip that I have seen all the things, have done the best parts of the city, that I walked away feeling like I got a sense of the place, and I definitely did not accomplish any of those goals on this trip. However, what I did accomplish was rest and relaxation. I ate well. We went to the spa. One of my girls from residency, one of my boos, my bestie boos, drove down from LA 2 hours. Shout out to you, girl. Thank you for doing that drive with her toddler. Oh, girl, the strength and fortitude it takes to drive 2 hours with a toddler to see your friend. And she brought pastries. Y'all, if y'all don't have friends like this, get you some new ones, okay? So she drove down from LA. I got to meet her kid for the first time. We just had an overall really good weekend in terms of just relaxation and replenishing. And we had a lot of nice conversations. I love a girls' trip for that. I do this really often. I feel like I have girls groups from each stage of my life, not high school, but from college, my college crew, y'all know every year we do a wine weekend and we do an international trip. Last year we did 40 for Portugal. The year before we were in Italy. The year before we were in Tulum in Mexico. This year we're planning a little something, and we usually do a wine weekend. And that's like my good group of travel friends. We have been friends since the first week orientation of college. And then I have these two friends from medical school that I love and talk to. And of course, I have other friends from medical school as well. And then my two eighth boon coons from residency, who I literally talk to every day. So I just have like a girls group, 3 to 5 people from each stage of my life. And that's true actually for fellowship too. I still have my 2 co-fellows that I ride hard with for fellowship. But it's just been nice to like travel with those groups of people because a girl's trip will center you in a way that no other trip can. Like a vacation is not going to do you like a girl's trip's going to do you. We are in there, especially if your friends are honest and open and you guys have that kind of relationship where nobody's shady, nobody's jealous of the other person, nobody is fighting for attention. Like there's no toxicity. These are like true core good friendships. The girls' trips be girl tripping, okay? You know we was talking about all kinds of stuff. I won't even tell you the things. I learned some new things this weekend. Well, anyway, I don't know why I'm bringing it up because I'm not going to tell y'all. So I'm just going to keep moving. But it's just so nice to have people that reflect to you what's going on in your life. And of course, because they're doctors, we talk about things that are medical. And so one of my friends is one of the ones who I helped. She was actually, both of them have been kind of recipients of my coaching at some point. And one of them, we were talking about her current job. And I realized that there is something in our brain that happens where we decide something is the truth, even though it's not. And let me explain it to you. So for example, a lot of people feel stuck in their job and they feel like their job is never going to give them what they want. And they've decided this is just how medicine is. This is the way it is. That's just it. And because they've accepted that, there's no way for you to formulate a plan that gets you out of that, because where are you going? If you've accepted it's just the pits and this is just the way things are. So, I was talking to my friend and I realized she had so many truths, I put that in air quotes because they are not actually true, that she had accepted, which is why she was, she is transitioning out of her job that she doesn't like, but it's why she has accepted so many things for so long, because she's building that off of these truths that are not actually truths. I find that happens the same way for me, even in this business, right? So like I accept certain things as truths that are not, right? So even the way I operate in running my coaching business, even the way I post on social media, I've created rules and then I live by those rules. And sometimes when you examine the rules, they don't work for you. And so you're struggling. It's like you're swimming upstream, but that's because there are no rules. Like life is super arbitrary. You can pick whatever you want and you can do that. And so a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, goals, and I want to travel and I wish I could be like you. You can. You can be like me. I'm not a unicorn. I didn't do anything crazy. I learned how to negotiate and now I negotiate for it. And I believe that my life should look like this. And I believe that vacation should be unlimited. Because I have those beliefs, I operate that way. It's literally belief. If you believe that you cannot have the life I have, you will never go for it. You will always be convincing yourself that what you have is what you get. And that honestly sounds a little depressing. So that takes me right into our topic for today, because we're continuing this June series, the 1 year debrief. As I talked about last week, June is the end of the fiscal year. It's usually the end of the year for your medical school year, your fellowship year, residency year. And if you signed a contract right out of fellowship or you signed to academia, you know that that's also still the same calendar you're on. You're on a July to June calendar. So it's an anniversary of sorts for a lot of people. It's certainly an anniversary of like when you graduated college or when you graduated med school. And it could potentially be the anniversary of when you have signed a work contract. And so we're doing a little bit of a year review to talk about, or a debrief to talk about, is what you signed up for, what you got. So last week, again, we talked about how the hustle mentality does not disappear just because you left training. And you can carry that smoothly, seamlessly right into your next job. So today we're going to zoom in on the contract part of this, right? Because for many of y'all, like I said, it's the anniversary of your contract. Maybe you're 1 year into the job or 2 or 5 or whatever. And it's the perfect time to ask yourself, what is your job costing you? Now, again, if you've been here before, or if you're not, if you're new, I will tell you that any day is a perfect day to negotiate. It's why my program is called the Any Day Negotiator, because it doesn't mean that you have to wait for the year anniversary to negotiate. You don't have to wait until your contract is over in 2 years to negotiate. You don't have to wait till December 31st to start a new year a different way. Any day, anytime you realize that what you have is not working for you is a good day to negotiate. And we're just defining negotiation as asking someone else for what you want. That's it. Doesn't require a sit down, a formal table, a revision of the contract. Even in some cases, you don't even need to do all that. It's literally just going in and asking someone for what you want. Okay. So most people, me included, when I signed my first contract, most people don't understand their contract when they sign it. Judgment-free zone. It's okay if you didn't even read it. But now we know better and we're going to do better. So maybe you were tired, especially if you signed a contract right out of training. Exhaustion, pure exhaustion. Okay. And maybe you were just happy to get an offer. Like you were trying to solidify something and it just feels relieving that someone is offering you a job and you're super excited about that. And maybe it's in a place that you want it to be in. It's really close to your house. I find proximity to home and a decreased commute is a huge motivator for people when they're looking at jobs. Because as far as they can compute, they don't want to spend all their time in the car. And they know that their work hours are going to be long. So why add on to the day? That distance from your house is a huge bonus for so many people and a huge motivator for why they might sign a job contract. So a lot of people approach the job like the job is the prize and that they need to secure it before it disappears, before it slips through their little precious fingertips, right? And that mindset often leads people to not negotiate. You should ask questions always. I always say that, like ask a lot of questions, but maybe you didn't for this job contract. Maybe you started to ask questions and someone replied something like, this is just a standard contract. And maybe you didn't want to rock the boat. And so again, you are just like, I need to secure this job before they change their mind. So now that you're in it, now that you're doing the living version of this contract, is it what you thought it was going to be? Because that is the next question. That's what we should always be evaluating. Is this what I thought it was going to be? How different is it? Does the different work for me? Do I need something else? Like, always be evaluating. Reminds me of my good sister, Dr. Daya, who's an EM doc who now teaches doctors real estate. You can always find her on Instagram, Capital Dynasty. But she always says it's the ABCs, like always be coaching, always be doing something. You should always be evaluating. So I want you to ask yourself, if you're like, I don't even know where to start. How do I even assess? I'll give you some questions. First is, am I working the schedule I agreed to? That's like super easy to understand. It doesn't require a lot of evaluation, complex thought. Is it what I agreed to? Just the schedule. Maybe the call is off, or the weekends, or the nights, or the shifts have doubled. Just evaluating whether or not the schedule you signed up for it is the schedule you actually have is a big one. Are there promises that they did not fulfill, like admin time you were promised, or maybe they had a different version of admin time than you had? So you thought you would have time to chart or, return calls, and they're like, oh, we got a committee for you. We got a research project for you. And so now you're using your admin time to do things that they have tasked you with in addition to your clinical load without any room for you to finish or think about your clinical work. Maybe it's mentorship. You thought there would be some type of mentorship or support. Is that actually happening for you? Are you getting the type of support and mentorship that you craved, that you desired, that you thought you needed as a first year attending, or a second or third or early career, or even mid-career? Because mentorship is important at any stage. Support is important at any stage. And if you're trying to progress to another level, is that happening? Are they setting you up for what you need? Are the expectations clear? Do you know what it means to do a good job at your job? What do they value? Or are things constantly shifting? Maybe management changes. Maybe the goals are changing. Maybe things are evolving and you're not really sure how to make that goal. So a contract obviously isn't just a piece of paper. It's a promise. It's an agreement. You're agreeing to do something, they're agreeing to do something. And that promise, if it's been broken, especially on their behalf, or if it's costing you more than it's giving, you're allowed to reevaluate that. Definitely. You should always be reevaluating. So sometimes, and I would say this is probably a really common occurrence, that the contract didn't specify certain things. Like it didn't outline exactly what the call is. It just says the doctor will be expected to perform call. And it didn't say that call was weekly or biweekly or for 7 days straight. And you didn't know to ask. You thought, I'm amicable to call, or that's just a requirement of all the jobs. So yeah, I'll do that. But you didn't think to ask. You didn't know to ask. And so now what you're working, the call schedule or the night schedule, the 24-hour schedule, is not one that actually works for you. And it's sometimes not even safe for the patients. I can come up with 100 examples of this. of things that you did not think of that now you're like, every time I see a contract, every time I read a contract for myself, for a client, I can see so much ambiguity. And I also see how easy it is to gloss over something that is unclear, especially while trying to wade through all the legalese. There's a lot of words. Some of those things are pages and pages and pages long. So I get it, but you still have to read it. And if you have to break it up into little chunks, do that. If they say, oh, we're giving you this contract and we'd like it back by X date, and you don't think you're going to have time to read it, ask them for the extension. Just let them know what time you need. And that is a totally reasonable thing to ask for. Hey, I'm going to need another week or two on this. Or I'm going to need another 2 weeks because I need someone else to review this with me. That's not a problem. A lot of doctors are doing it. It's not a problem. You want to know the details of your contract. I think about PTO. Ooh, PTO can be so ambiguous. Is it inclusive of holidays, the ones that they've assigned to you? So if they tell you got 20 PTO days, but that includes Christmas, Thanksgiving, and New Year's, and you take those off, but that is deducting from your overall PTO, then you really don't got those 20 days, right? Does it include sick leave? Do you know what your state sick leave policy is? New York State has a paid sick leave. If a business has above a certain number of employees, they are required to provide sick leave at a certain accrual rate. New York is 1 hour for every 30 hours worked, and an employer can set a maximum of 40 hours, but you should be getting sick leave in New York State. I don't know, there's 50 states, so there's 50 different rules, but you should know little things like that. You should have time to talk it through and Google those kinds of things, right? Another big point of ambiguity is, what does it take to earn a productivity or a quality bonus? They'll tell you that you're eligible for $15,000, $20,000 at the end of the year if you meet certain metrics. Well, what aren't they? Who's measuring them? How often are they assessing them? What do I need to do? How likely is it for me to hit that as a new employee, as a first-year employee, as a third-year employee? Subcontracts never say those kinds of things. You just are out there guessing what it takes to earn that $15,000. Meanwhile, you've definitely added that math as income, guaranteed income that you're going to get. RVUs. RVUs are a big one. What happens if you don't meet your RVU goal, the target? Do they deduct? Do they penalize you in some way? What happens? And how are they supporting you in reaching that RVU goal? There's so many questions. There's so much ambiguity in a contract, conversations that you really do need to have as you're going through the hiring process. So when you're evaluating a new contract or the one you're currently signed on for, you have to also look for what is not said. Those are examples of things that maybe were not spelled out in the contract, but you got to still look for them. There is an invisible cost when you don't. So even if the salary looks good, like I said, the bonuses look good, there are hidden costs. Maybe that comes at the cost of your weekends, your sleep, your charting time, this admin time, your peace, your boundaries. Maybe that's the cost of this dollar amount. And if that's the case, if they're including all those things, is that dollar amount worth it to you to lose those things? Because if it's not, they need to pay you more or you need to go somewhere else. I hear doctors are like, oh my God, I'm getting paid well, but then they're missing birthdays or family birthdays, or they're doing inbox work at 10 p.m. and they're crying in their car on Monday and sitting in the parking lot, dreading going in or too tired when they get out. That's not free. That is not neutral. That is a cost. That's a cost to you. That's a cost to your health, emotionally, mentally, even physically. And the longer you tolerate it, the more expensive it gets. And it's really not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. So what do I want you to do about it? If this is you, you're in a job or you're starting a job and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not at all what I envisioned, I want to just stop and tell you, you are allowed to change your mind. It is okay. You will not die. You will not be shunned or blacklisted for changing your mind. Of course, you want to do it in a way that feels safe for you and is, of course, respectful to the time that they have spent on you. However, you don't want to stay in places that are really not for you. So I just want to give you that permission. I want to let you know that you are not locked in the way you think, maybe. Sometimes people think, oh, I have a contract, I can't leave. You can. You're not trapped. And you're not ungrateful for wanting something else, for wanting something better, for seeing what it was and what was offered and deciding, nah, that's not for me, or, oh my gosh, I would love this other thing. That is all okay. It should always be evolving. That's fine. Contracts are meant to be renegotiated. They can be. Jobs can be restructured. They restructure jobs all the time. Think about how often they are asking you to do something that wasn't in your contract. You should be just as free to ask for things as well. If they can change your schedule that's not written in your contract, or they can ask you to do more call, you can ask to do less call. You can ask to go part-time. It's always just questions, and you just wait and see if the other person agrees. Okay? That's all negotiation is. Conversation coming to an agreement. Even if you love your job, and even if they gave you everything you wanted at signing, just because it was the right job for you then, doesn't mean it's the right job for you now. And if your needs have changed or your values have come into focus, that's a time to do something about it. That's growth, right? Like you are recognizing how you are value aligned and you're going to do something about it. That's real growth. So if your contract anniversary is coming up and you're like, oh my goodness, it's just not what I thought it was going to be, or it just passed. Because you know me, I don't care what day of the week it is. We're going to do something about it. I just want you to take a moment to do the audit. Ask yourself those questions. Is my schedule the way I wanted it to be? Have I gotten the things I was promised? Have my values changed and now I need to reassess what I have and what I need? And not just evaluating the money, although you know I love to talk about money over here. There is no shame. But I also want you to evaluate your time. Time is the only non-renewable resource. You cannot get it back. It is finite. You can always earn more money. You cannot get back time. So I want you to think about that. Like the energy you're putting into it. Are you getting the support you need? Are you feeling the joy? Is there a joyful part of your job? There better be. A good contract is like the foundation for a good job, and a good job supports your life. It doesn't drain it. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you answer the questions. I would love if you guys would just message me with these answers to these questions. I love to hear from y'all, and it always helps me to talk about, more things on the podcast and to really cover topics that you love. But yeah, just message me, just DM me, just reply to the show notes, drop a comment. Next week, we're going to talk about what I wish I knew before I signed. Ooh, so if you're job searching or if you're feeling some contract regret, you'll definitely want to tune in. And if you have a friend that is constantly complaining about their job, or if, you hear coworkers that are like, oh my gosh, I wish I could change, send them my way. Refer them to the podcast because everyone needs this information. Share this podcast with a friend or a colleague. Okay? I will see you next week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. As always, bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is link us everywhere you can. Instagram at The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.